Came upstairs and searched for the jobs, and I think I need to apply right now or else I will waste my time here, and I need to seriously start right now. And that night, those 2 jobs came up, and the next day I got the call. Exactly after 6 months from my graduation, I've got the job offer. Whenever I have an idea, I have to take action. I started to understand the pattern, like when could I get an interview and when I couldn't. I think the only culture shock that I have is sometimes I feel like I don't quite belong to the community here. All my dream is falling apart.
Hi, I'm Ellen. I'm the host of the video podcast series Landed, where I'll be interviewing people just like you and me who took a chance on themselves, made their move, and have landed here in the UK with a sponsored job. They'll share exactly what it's like to pursue this path and what it took them to get to where they are today. Our guest today, Kira, is a Vietnamese-born marketer at a small financial services company. She originally came to the UK to pursue a master's in marketing and had no plans to work here long term. But as fate would have it, she applied for 2 jobs, interviewed for both, and landed an offer from one. That's an incredible success rate. And not only that, she became the first person to be sponsored by her company. Beyond her day job, and before she came to the UK, Kira did freelance work and ran many businesses and had work experience in Vietnam before. She makes it all seem effortless, but I'm excited to have her walk us through the steps she took to get to where she is today. Kira, welcome to the show. How are you feeling today?
I'm excited. When I was on the bus with my husband to travel to the pot shop studio, I was kind of like revisiting all the reflection in my mind, what I've been through, and like just looking out of the window and see, I've been here for such a long time, much longer than I intended to.
Yeah, wow, it's a long journey, and I'm sure that you are much further than where you thought you would be, right, initially.
Yes, I just can't believe it.
Okay, so can you walk us through your journey and your timeline from when you first moved to the UK till now?
Well, so it was in 2021, and so I spent 1 year doing my master degree in marketing. And after that, after I submitted the dissertation, I spent 4 months traveling abroad to European countries because I really like the European countries, and that was my dream, like the main purpose why I came to the UK and like the European areas as a whole. And so I spent 4 months there, and then when I came back, I was starting to think, well, I might need to apply for jobs, but I didn't quite rush into it. But then later I will tell you about it. But then when I decided to do it, and then after 2 months staying in the UK, like after all the holidays and traveling, I finally applied for 2 jobs, as you just mentioned. And yes, I got the interview. And so exactly after 6 months from my graduation, I've got the job offer. And then after 3 months, my manager offered me, it's not like an offer, but he said that he would be happy after my probation to discuss further sponsorship if I wanted to, but because I didn't really wanted to work in the UK long term, so I just hang the offer there. And then after the probation, I was thinking, wow, I like working here. I really like the UK. I like my company. So I said to him that, yes, I would like that. And so I've got the soft offer from the CEO, but then because we have a board, so they are the people who decide whether to do the sponsorship or not. And so I have to wait for another, I think, 2 or 3 months until the final decision. And after the final decision came the threshold increase. So I have to ask them again. And it's a very challenging situation and a very challenging period for me. And so during the next, I think, 5 or 6 months, I finally got the sponsorship that I wanted. Yeah. So it's like, after 1 year working at the company, I got the visa, the work visa.
And can you tell that story again, and how did you come to apply for jobs after graduation here? Because initially you didn't think of applying for job.
Yeah, so I was thinking, so after my first 6 months in the UK, I thought, well, I would like to be here a little more because I love Hanoi so much I couldn't leave it. Yeah, I couldn't leave it. But then, yeah, after 6 months, everything in my mind has changed. And so I decided that, okay, I'm going to apply for the graduate scheme. And to do that, I think I cannot just stay here and do nothing. So I need to apply for a job. But then I wasn't in a rush because I was doing some freelance jobs remotely from Vietnam, from here, but it's Vietnamese jobs. So I didn't in a rush to kind of looking for any jobs in the UK. And my biggest aspiration is traveling. So I spent, as I just told you before, that I spent 4 months traveling, just traveling across, I think, nine cities in the European countries. And I think, well, this could be the nomad life that I would love to try. So I was thinking to apply for like different jobs in the European countries, not like and doing everything remotely. But then, okay, so there was one night I was in the kitchen and washing the dishes. And my flatmate, she came home and she was rushing into the kitchen and said to me, and breaking a very, like, it's the news, but like a very bad news that her friend who was working at the restaurant was refused a travel visa to come to the European countries because he didn't have a full-time job and he's now on the graduate scheme. He just have part-time jobs. So I was like, oh my God, all my dream is falling apart. It's really falling apart. So and because I'm the person who always take action immediately, so I just came upstairs and searched for the jobs. And I think I need to apply right now or else I will waste my time here and I need to seriously start right now. And that's when those two jobs came up. So like not those two, but like a lot of jobs. But I chose those two to apply on that night. And the next day I got the call. Yes. So it's always, yeah, I think next day and the next day, like and the day after, like just 1 or 2 days because they are small businesses as well. Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's why in my introduction of Kira, that's I say it's an incredible success rate, and I will keep saying that. And can you share a bit more? How did you research to narrow down to those two jobs?
Yeah, so because those two jobs are the two that I applied when I was in a serious mode of applying for jobs. But when I came here and when I was studying, like in the middle of my study, I have already tried to apply like a trial and test. Like I knew that I was a student, so if I applied for a full-time job, I might fail, but I still applied just to practice. And during that time, I got 2 interviews, even though I was a student. But the other applications was rejected at those times. I started to understand the pattern, like when could I get an interview and when I couldn't. So whenever I applied for a job in some kind of like generalist, like marketing coordinator or just marketing executive, I would be called. But if I applied for like some content marketer or something like that, or PR or something, like something very specialized, then I wouldn't got the job. Because in my CV, it was always something very, very general because I did a lot of marketing, but I didn't do a lot of specialization in anything. So I think that's the pattern. So that night when I applied for a job, I just searched for marketing coordinator and marketing executive, marketing officer, because I know from my experience in the past. And then one more thing is now that I'm clever, like I'm smarter in applying. So when I was studying, I applied for the jobs, even though they are marketing officer and coordinator. But because in my CV there are a lot of leadership role, but it's not like manager or anything. It's like team lead or things like that. And so they just don't match. They are a bit overqualified for those. But I'm still reserved to apply for the higher role. Yeah. So this time I make a little bit changes to my CV. I just write it all marketing coordinator and like I just downgrade myself at that moment to see how it goes. And then and I think it enhanced my chance of getting approved in those positions. And I also tried to apply for the manager role. But we are like, even though we could get that in Vietnam, but because we don't have any experience here and we just don't have the same level. So I think, well, this time I would just learn from all those experience. Yeah. So
I love that you tried and then you had some data on that and you learned from that, and you now know the right strategy to go back to have that success rate. It didn't come out of nowhere.
Yeah,
you tested it before.
Yeah, I did test it. So I just like want to let everybody know that they should really do the testing. Like maybe they were not seriously applying for those and they think that they are not ready, because at that time I knew that I wouldn't be able to accept it, because I would never be accepted while I was studying a full-time, like doing a full-time study. But I still do that because you never know. You can still practice and know, at least you know when your CV could be in the eye of the employer.
Also, I suppose when you were studying and you would not be able to actually accept the job yet, even if you get rejected, you feel a bit more detached from it.
Yeah, that's true. Like, because I didn't hold any hopes. I know that I just want to apply just to practice. I didn't hold any expectations, so so I wasn't sad at all.
So the jobs you applied for were marketing coordinator or more generalist. Can you share a bit more about the application process of that?
Yeah, so at first I will need to submit a kind of an application form or a CV, but both of those organizations, they had a application form of their own. So I have to fill in that, like adapt from my CV to fill in that. And so after that, they will announce, like they will call to announce that, okay, you've got the interview. And then we arrange for an interview slot. And for the first job, it was just the interview, and there will be no more tests. But for the second job, there will be the final round with the CEO. And I will need to make a presentation, like a marketing plan or something, and they will have a brief. I need to debrief and make a presentation to showcase that, okay, I can solve this problem. And I think because I'm more suitable with the things because I really like making plans and I've been familiar with that. So it's more my strength. And so the company that did have the extra route, that was where I was able to really showcase my strength and capacity. And that was the job that I got. But for the other one, it was just, so after the interview, I also got the announcement that I couldn't land the job. And they did explain, they were very nice. They did explain that even though it was marketing coordinator or something officer, but then the majority of the job would be design work, and I didn't have as much experience in design as another candidate. And so I wasn't unhappy about that. Actually, I feel glad because I don't intend to do design jobs. So
like fair enough.
So I think suitability is a very good factor that we need to like bear in mind when we apply for jobs.
Yeah.
And this is like destiny. So later on, just last month, I figured out that the person who interviewed me in that first job was one of the board members in my current company. Yeah, because she came and I saw her and I was like, oh my God. Yeah, it was such a coincidence.
Did she move?
No, because she's involved in that organization. But then So I was like, wow, it's such my destiny, because if I'm not here, then I could be there with you. And she still remember me, like recognize. So
What, like a small world, I guess.
Yeah, it's a small world. So if you go to interviews, just don't think that you will never meet them again, because you might.
Be nice, be professional.
Be professional.
And how did you approach the sponsorship conversation with your employer? Because like you said, at first they didn't sponsor, they didn't have license yet, right? Yeah. And then you had to approach that. How did you do that?
Yeah, so it was a very long journey. So it was really, really challenging. So because after 3 months, like my 3 months review, my manager was quite happy with what I did. And he just offered me, while he didn't know what is the process and thing, he just said that if you would like to stay and if you would like to continue working with us, we will find a way to do that. But I don't know anything about that, so you might have to lead the way. And after 6 months, when I really feel that, yes, I want it, I asked him, yeah, I really want it now. So could we schedule a meeting to discuss that? And on the meeting, when he found out that it has to, like, the company has to have a license, like a real license, it's another story. And he was quite surprised. Yeah, and he has to talk to the board. And so it's another, like, challenge for me. Yeah, and so I tried to kind of do all the research myself on how to get this sponsor license for the company. And so the next challenge is to convince the board that it's worth sponsoring me, because my company is around for the past 35 years and they've never sponsored an employee before. So that was a lot of work where I have to come back to my reflection on everything that I did and go through all the achievements that I made to the company. I contributed to the company in numbers, because the boss only like to see it in numbers, not like how many posts you did or how many things you did, how many events you supported or anything. It's like the increase in the percent of the inquiries, like the list that you generated, like how it contributed to the whole sales targets of the company. Like it's not like in quality, but like in quantity. And then how much money did I save for the company? Because when I came in and I did a lot of things in-house, we didn't have to outsource a lot of designers and agency as before. So I have to like sit back and think of all of that and then have all the numbers, all the reports needed to really make a case for me, and then let the CEO spoke to the board. And then, yeah, I got their approval.
Yeah,
But
wow.
just after I got their approval, the threshold was up because it's the new year. So it was up. Yeah, so I have to do all things again to convince the board again, because my salary has to increase as well and things like that. So it's another like 2 or 3 months of waiting. So I
Yeah.
guess I had quite a strong mentality. Yeah, I still feel very, looking back.
Wow. I feel like so many hoops to jump through, but it's true that you have to really advocate for yourself and
Yeah.
make a case for yourself
Yes.
and say that I want this, I'm going to do this. It's encouraging.
Yeah, it's really encouraging.
So was that is this your first job in the UK? First
Yeah.
work experience here?
Yeah, it is my first job in the UK.
Wow. Because a lot of people usually to apply for full-time job here, they have to go through part-time job, internships, or other work experiences to get here. But you just came here to study masters, and immediately when you apply, you got the job. So can you share a bit more about your studies and what you did before that in Vietnam?
Yeah, so I studied marketing, so it's just marketing. So it's quite in general, and it's more strategy kind of thing rather than digital marketing or a specific kind of like specialization in marketing. But then before I came to the UK, I did a bachelor degree in economics, and I didn't like it. I didn't like economics at all, but I like business. So, and I participated in a lot of extracurricular activities where I did communications and then marketing, and then did internship, part-time jobs, and then full-time jobs, and then
Okay.
yeah, and I opened like I think five startup of my own. So
Wow.
it's very much like marketing and business, and I fell in love with that. And I was thinking, I'm not really a business woman like for my whole, because I need a creative side to feel my soul, because I really need it, but I also need the strategic thinking kind of thing. So marketing is like the perfect combination of those two.
Yeah.
And I decided that, well, I didn't have the chance to learn marketing in a like very academic way, so I would love to pursue a study somewhere, master degree, and I want to do it abroad, because I just love studies so much, and I didn't like have the satisfaction that I would want to have in Vietnam. So I wanted to just go abroad and then study. So I didn't want to work after that. But then for the year that I applied, it was the first year that the graduate scheme came, and I didn't really care about that. But then because it came, so I think, well, let's see if after 1 year I learned everything and I find that I love the UK also, I might apply for that graduate scheme. Yeah, so that's how it went.
Wow, but did you say 5 startup?
Yeah, but it's like very small, very small, like micro businesses. It's just like whenever I have an idea, I have to take action. So I just produce the stuff and then sell it. So I call that business, but it's not really like a real business, but like micro business.
Wow, but I love that you say you have an idea and you have to execute on that, and I think that's important to do that.
Thank you.
And how long did you work in Vietnam before coming to the UK?
So for full-time years, it was around two and a half or 3 years because of the COVID. So my university, the Nottingham University, they delayed my study 6 months because of the COVID things happening at that time. So I've got like that 6 months to continue to do the jobs in Vietnam. So it's like I think 2 years and a half for full-time and freelance work. But then before that, I did a lot of part-time jobs during university. So I think in overall, it's from when I was 19 until just before 25. So it has to be around 6 or 7 years of working before I came to the UK.
Wow, so you were prepared.
Yeah.
In a way.
Yeah, in a way.
So did you find that the experience working in Vietnam helped when looking for jobs here? And I know that there are differences between work culture here and the kind of experiences that people have here. How did you transfer what you did in Vietnam to the job application here?
Well, I think it helped me very, very much. I didn't imagine that it would help me that much because everybody said to me that it's very different. It's like a total different job market. And so I was so worried. But then when I started to apply, I found out that it's like the mechanism behind it is still the same, but it's just different people and different ways of looking at the candidates, I think. So the only thing that I did for all of my application was to focus on a few that I think I'm really related to them, and like if it's not me, it could be another person, but not like it could be a million other people. Like maybe just some competitors, not like a lot of competitors. So I've just found the jobs that are really suitable to me, just like what I did in Vietnam. So in Vietnam, I didn't really search for jobs and go to apply for jobs, but I just got referrals from the people who have already worked with me before. They refer to their friends who are owner of the business and things like that. So I think in the UK it will work pretty much like that, but you don't have the connection. But then you can think of, okay, so what are suitable with you, like your values, and then what you like, what you are experienced in. So yeah.
Before we continue with our conversation, now we have a little segment where we will try some food together. And I always say that because Vietnamese people, we bond through food. So today we have a special dish from Vietnam called bún chả Hà Nội. Wow, it's from where you from. So
yes,
I'm sure that you will be excited for this and you will be able to judge whether this is as good as in Vietnam.
I love it, thank you.
Okay, we are now holding 2 bowls of bún chả. Can you describe what this is?
So bún chả is like noodles, but then you have the pork. It's like grilled pork. I don't know how to describe it. It's just very delicious. Yeah, I really like bún chả since when I was a kid until now.
And this is this is marinated pork.
Yeah.
In a special way, Vietnamese way.
Yeah.
Okay, let's try.
Yeah, I like it. I like the flavor of the pork.
How do you find this compared to what you ate in Hanoi?
So it's a really delicious one, but I don't think it's as delicious as the ones that we always have in Hanoi. Especially if you are eating from the off-street kind of restaurant. I forgot the word for that.
Street food?
Oh yes, street food. Yeah, I think street food in Hanoi and in Vietnam in general are really really good. They're just so delicious, you know. They're just very authentic, and yeah, maybe it gives a vibe of the Hanoi vibe. Just yeah, sitting on the street
What's
and
the
enjoying them.
difference from this and Vietnamese? Sorry, the same one in Hanoi. Because honestly, to me, this is amazing.
Well, I think I don't know. It's just the flavor, but I'm not a very I'm not a person who's very good at tasting food because I don't like eating. Except for cake, I have a very big love for cake, but for any other thing, I'm just not a big fan of eating. But then yes, I couldn't really describe how different it is, but it's just not my childhood food. But it's still a very delicious one. Like if it's stands on its own, it's very good.
Do you have any bún chả restaurant in Vietnam to recommend to people on the top of your head right now?
Well, I don't remember the names. Like, yeah, I would just normally go out into the street and any kind of bún chả restaurant that I saw, it's normally good. Yeah, like almost everything is good. So yeah.
So yes, for anyone traveling to Vietnam, street food.
Yeah, street food, bún chả.
How was it moving to the UK? Was it a big cultural shock for you? And what do you like about the UK and not like?
Well, it wasn't a big cultural shock to me because I heard a lot about, like, I did some research about what I could have to suffer from before I went. So when I came here, I think I adapted pretty well. I think the only cultural shock that I have is everybody says sorry a lot. So yeah, but now I'm so familiar with it and I get used to it and I say sorry so often. Yeah, and the weather, I can't really bear the cold. So and after like 3 years and a half, I still feel very, very cold. And I'm the person who, like in the office, everyone will think of me as someone who need a blanket for every kind of season. So yeah, I think that's the biggest. And I think also sometimes I feel like I don't quite belong to the community here. But then it's not a very big issue for me because I like having time on my own and then just doing things on my own. And everybody is so nice to me. So I've never met a person in the UK. Either they are British or they are a foreigner living and working in the UK. I never met someone who like was rude to me or anything. Everybody was so kind and so nice. So I really appreciate it. So that's what I like about the UK. And I think I have been lucky in a way. But also I think because I normally look at things in a positive way. So maybe if somebody is rude to me, I don't even know that is rude. So yeah.
And I suppose it helps to have your husband here with you as well.
Oh yeah, it helps because when I first came here, he wasn't here at first. So I just had my own, and then because I was living in a flat with a house with some flatmates who are also Vietnamese, so we are like sisters. So it was really helping at that time. And all the friends in the UK, they are also very friendly. Like I couldn't really have a deep connection with them, but if we hang out or if we have to work on some project together, then everything is very smooth. So I don't find any difficulty with that. Yeah, the only thing is that, like I said, the weather, and sometimes I feel that I don't quite belong in the community, but that's not a very big challenge or anything for me.
Yeah. It all come with time. So as someone who's been here for 13 years, when I was here for the first few years, I felt the same way. But as you live longer and the time that you've been in the UK longer, or kind of catching up with the time you're in Vietnam, you feel more naturally that, oh, this is just where I live now. So it gets better with time.
Yeah, maybe so. Thank you. And I think the greenery, because I was born and grew up in Hanoi. So even though I love Hanoi so much, but then because it's a very busy city and all I hear every day is noise, I'm so familiar to that noise. So that when I came here, I felt like everything is silent because I live in Nottingham, not London. So I felt like I always live in silence, and I like that part. So that's why I really like the greenery, a lot of trees, and and like I could hear the birds singing. Yeah, so it's like coming back to nature. So I just grew to love it.
Oh, I'm sure that there's so many things that we take for granted. I love how positive you are. And
Thank you.
thanks so much for sharing about your journey today. And I'm sure that our viewers have learned a lot from that journey. And I feel already inspired by all the work that you do to get through to that sponsorship journey. And especially, I love how even though the results seem to came quick for you, but you already did so much preparation before that. You worked in Vietnam, you applied for so many jobs to see the patterns. So it didn't just come out of nowhere. It was through a long process of preparing and getting ready for the outcome that you have today.
Yeah, I guess so. It really helped.
So thank you. And thanks to our viewers for tuning in. See you in another episode of Landed. Hi, thank you so much for watching and listening. I hope you enjoy it. To support the show, remember to like, subscribe, and leave comments. You can also follow me on Instagram at Ellen Win Official, where I post content more regularly. See ya!